All right, we're here. We are live. Brian's looking around to see if we are
We're
really
here. Oh,
live, but
we are here. Oh my god.
Here, not there.
Um,
We're here.
Here.
hey, everybody. This is HF Pod. We are happy to be here on Friday afternoon, the Friday of a long weekend for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not
For
just
everyone.
some people. It's for everybody.
No?
It's for all Americans,
Except for
not
those
Canadians.
who don't get that.
Yeah. And speaking of Canadians, Ryan Storm will not be blowing up the chat today because he's at summer camp, which is
Is that
which
like
is-
a feature
summer,
now?
not that
That-
summer camp. Not that.
Not
summer
that
camp.
one. Not his
The
usual.
other
The
Summer
other
summer
summer
camp.
camp.
He traded
We have
in
to, like-
one summer camp for another summer camp.
We have to make an announcement about whether he's going to be around or not now. This is like a
Well-
feature of the pod.
I mean, you know what they say.
Feature.
He's just going based on the outline.
All right. What's up, everybody? How you guys doing?
Hello.
What's happening?
Good.
You
Glad
guys are
this
all
week is over.
in your normal place, and I'm in a different place. But I'm happy that we're all here because it's Friday afternoon. So here we are. One thing I want to say is for our listeners, if you like what we do, you can support us by checking out Osiris Premium. The last few episodes of HF Pod Premium have been really fun. We talked about books last week, which actually sounds not fun at all now that I said it, but we've also talked a lot about our favorite albums from these years that we're covering. So you can hear us talk a lot more nonsense if you want to help us do what we do. It's osirispod.com/premium. Before we get into the nonsense talking before the episode, what did you guys think about the new from the archives 10/29/94 release? How do we feel about it?
I love that show.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that lead up to the Halloween '94 show. There's Boone, North Carolina, 1026, Charlottesville, 1027. That Jonathan and RJ we talked about maybe a year and a half ago.
Best
and then this
excuse
show,
for an encore ever.
Best excuse for an encore ever. And then this show, there was a lot that drifted into my text threads about people being angry that this already has a soundboard release on it, which I get the anger, but have you listened to this release? Because
It's from the multi-tracks.
oh
They
my
had the
god,
truck for a live one. I haven't listened yet because I
oh my god,
preparing for today, but I'm excited.
you are gonna love this. You are gonna love this. It's like you put your headphones on and you put this on and you hear like, oh, there's Fishman over there and there's some Trey and there's some piano and oh, there's the crowd sprinkled in. It sounds so good, and it's one of those shows that like makes you realize that 1994 Fish might have just been the greatest thing that's ever happened in music and in art and in American history. I don't know, I may be hyperbolic over here, but like that's just how it makes you feel.
Damn. I'm excited to listen back too. But, Fall 94 it's when it started for me. So I love it. I'm always happy when they release anything from that time.
It's extremely 94, the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
everything about
segues.
it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird little like 30-second jams that just go off the rails. I mean, I will say it's no 725.99, but it is really good.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. We won't have to ever talk about that show again.
Ever.
Why this show, guys?
why?
Or make a pitch for
10/29/94?
10/29/94.
Shit. You're gonna make me pull up the set list because I haven't even looked at it. I've been so focused on doing good work for today.
I understand. You don't have to.
It's a maniacal show. Well, I feel like Brian just gave us an awful lot of effort on it. It's kind of a wild show, right? Like they really like if Halloween didn't happen, we would probably have talked about this show more. You know? The first set is good, like really good.
Quite.
Big split open and melt, right? Weird, my friend closes it out. Then like the second set, Down with Disease, into The Man Who Stepped In Yesterday, Alvanu, The Man Who Stepped In Yesterday, into Sparks, into Uncle Pen. You Enjoy Myself right in the middle of the set. Fishman segment, Hold Your Head Up, Bike, Hold Your Head Up. Yes. Antelope, Sleeping Monkey, Antelope. That right there, by the way, is a keeper of a segment that makes the
It's a
show
lot of this.
worthwhile. The rest of it
Yeah.
is also extremely good. And then for an encore, is it Harry Hood.
Why not? Fall 94 Harry
1994
Hood.
Harry Hood. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like they're good then. So good.
Among the
I
best.
think it's also the disease is one of the early stretched
Yeah.
out diseases, and
It's a jam chart version. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
super deep, but it's got something going on.
but it's from that era where for someone on this call, one of you really likes efficient jamming. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to point you out to the crowd or anything, but one of you really likes efficient jamming. And this disease is like an example of what Fish could do in 1994 in 10 minutes, which is like blow your brain apart and make you feel like you went through the wormhole that Matthew McConaughey went through, which I think I've referenced now 2 episodes in a row, but whatever. I'm just going to
There you go.
keep doing it.
But they-
But only in like 10 minutes.
But they also have like this like mini segfest in the first set. I mentioned Split, but it goes right into Buffalo Bill, right into Makasuba, right into Rift. What? I'll take it. Don't get me wrong. What?
So
It's awesome. It's a great show. I'm excited to hear this upgraded recording.
Can I
listened to
say
it today.
one?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just one more thing is, and this is an interesting point that Jonathan made. If Halloween didn't happen, we may be talking about this show more. The only pushback I would have is that this is the like classic night before the night type of show, where everyone is thinking, the crew, the band, the fan base is thinking, what are they going to play for Halloween? And the band is like, well, watch us
Cheers.
now. We're going to play an amazing show because those of you who showed up tonight, you're the real fans.
That's the best.
It's the best.
It's my favorite.
So I was just looking earlier, and I listened to it in the car with my kids talking. So like, not the most like ideal
Deep
listening environment. But
example.
Yeah.
but it is, like everything is so well played and the sound is great. I was just looking earlier. So there's 9 fall 94 shows that have been released.
Wow.
9 fall 95 shows that have been released. So
9.
I wonder if there's like a balance we're looking at here. 7, I think 5 or 6 from fall 96. So, this, I wonder if there's like an effort to kind of keep the balance. There's, 8 from fall 97. So kind of like the same, kind of the
How many
trying to
fall
keep it
95s?
even. But I will say there's only 3, I guess there's 5 fall 99s, but only 2 after September. And I just feel like fall 99
Wow.
is so underrepresented in
Totally.
live Fish. And I wonder if that was, I don't know. I feel like even the, like the good shows from December that we've all listened to on audience recordings, like they don't sound very good. And I don't know, maybe that's like part of the deal. I don't know. I just wonder why there haven't been more 99s. Maybe they're going to release all of 99 along with Big Cypress soon. I know that everyone's waiting for that.
It'll ship in a trunk.
I think that this is, man, you must be podcasting for like 10 years because that's a really natural segue into today's show. I was thinking about
Truly.
this actually because I'm 1 week ahead of you guys. I've decided the 2000 show and I listened to it today to confirm. I actually listened to 2 2000 shows because I thought of one and then I was like, no, this isn't going to cut it. So I did another one. Anyway, the sound quality on those shows are not very good from an audience recording. And I kept thinking about how, do you remember when the Grand Rapids, Michigan 11/11/98 show was released a couple of years back, and there's a gumbo, like a second song, 13-minute gumbo. And I remember when the show was released, I was like, well, it's the Haleys and what else? And then you listen to that gumbo in soundboard and you're like, holy fuck, there's so much happening below the surface that I had no idea about. And I think a lot of these 99 2000 shows are the same, where if you got these in soundboard quality, that Raleigh show, the Tweezer, it's so much more powerful.
12, 16, 99.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I think that's like those December 99 shows. I mean, a lot of them, there's like, it's sort of trancy and whatever, but there's a lot there that I think if we could hear like the 12, 15, 99 show, like there are shows from
Great
99
show.
that I think would be, like you said, I mean, that 12, 16 is a really good example of like,
Just
that's like one of
give me
the
Big
coolest jams of all
Cypress.
time.
Just give me Big Cypress. That stuff is all good.
Yeah.
People have said
RJ, I'm
that
not
that's a good
arguing
show.
against it. I'm just saying that like they should just give me Big
A
Cypress.
man
Some
has
people
his
have
priorities.
some people have even suggested we do a podcast about it, but
That would be insane.
that would be insane.
One
Someone did a
podcast
cool
about one
podcast
show.
about it. I don't know who it was though.
I think
Do
it
you
was
guys know?
I
I
heard
think it was
about
Cadence
that.
13. Guys, here we are. Isn't this great? All right, what are we talking about? The hazy days of '99.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
talking about July 7th, 1999.
Megan, this was your pick. This is your baby. You have other
Yeah.
babies, but this is one of them.
Yeah, this is one of them. I felt like I really went out on a limb for this too. You know, I feel a lot of pressure when I have to pick the show because, you know, I don't have the deep knowledge that you guys have. And so for me, I have to
I
really
don't think that's
do,
true.
I don't think that's
well,
true either.
thank you, but I have different kind of knowledge, but I don't have the kind of
You have a
catalog
spiritual
brain.
knowledge that we couldn't even imagine.
There we go. There we go.
Plus, you were there,
Emotional
right?
knowledge.
Let's cut to the chase.
I was there.
mean,
I was there. But you know what it really was about, Jonathan, was I thought about like, what do I love about 99? And I actually love that like looping, hypnotic, trancy, swampy places they would find themselves in. And I wanted to do a
Yes.
show. Yeah, I wanted to do a show that wasn't on Live Fish. So I was looking at like what is not on Live Fish that's like that. And then I looked back and I was like, what did I see in 99? And the only show I saw was this show, July 7th, 1999. And I looked at it again and I was like, oh, I remember this show. This second set is amazing. Like this second set is like, it's like a boat ride through like a psychedelic swamp. Like it's just so rich and weird and 99. And so I was like, I'm going to do this. And so I talked to my consultant and that's what I decided to do.
so were they training us to handle swamps at this time?
Yeah,
Or-
that's exactly what it was. It was like a lead up. Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
saw
but
the-
also, yeah, it was my last show that I saw. I wasn't going to see fish again for 10 years.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
It's really
Yeah.
inappropriate behavior. I saw the
Yeah.
3 shows that followed this, but not this one. And they were all good. And I couldn't remember the last time I listened to this show, but I knew that it had to be good. And then I pulled it up and I was right.
Well, I was
So,
very relieved that
good pick.
everybody felt okay about it. But, you know, it also has like a really fun sit-in that actually works. And I hate sit-ins. I feel like
Yeah.
if they're going to be a sit-in, it has to be perfect. And this one is perfect. So I felt good about it.
Perfect
We'll
song
get to that, but
selection,
it was,
perfect
material was
execution.
right.
Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
excited to get to that. But yeah, I had only listened to this show once before, and I'll be honest, like on paper, I was kind of like, it looks okay.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to it, and as we're going to get into it, like there's so much here that, because we're only a week into the 99 tour at this point in time.
Hmm.
And Fish hasn't played together basically for 6 months, which is like the first time that that's ever happened in Fish history. And Trey started his trio band. I'll let Meg's Corner handle the history of it, but you know, ultimately, you listen to this and this just like sets the table for where the band is going, and it sounds like they're intentionally trying to push a new sound and new ideas towards the fan base really immediately, and that like completely blew me away.
Yeah, and I love that it's got like so much, not so much, but it has a fair amount of the Sick It disc on here, like some of the songs that were actually going to, you know, few that have been played live. And I feel like that was so influential for them and for the next year. But I love that was, you know, you have this My Left Toe sandwich. It's just a cool show.
Megan, what is happening with Fish in 1999?
Okay, so for Meg's Corner today, in 1999, they're going to play like a little bit over 65 shows, which is kind of exactly what they did the year before. And like Brian mentioned, the first half of the year, Trey is forming the trio with Lawton and Tony Marcalis, and Gordon's going to be off making a movie, which is interesting. In June, they're going to release the Sick It disc, their 8th studio album. And I love the Sick It disc. I think it's so cool. And I feel like it's an album that they actually listen to themselves. They've talked about that, which I think is pretty cool. And it obviously influenced, I think, a lot of their playing in 99 and 2000. And like Brian mentioned, they don't play their first show until June 30th. Of course, they're going to have that warm-up show before where Jim Carrey is going to come and sit in for them with some friends. They're going to tour the month of July, basically, and then end at Camp Oswego Festival, and then end the month in Japan playing at the Fuji Rock Festival. And I love like thinking back on these Japan shows because now there was like a rumor on Twitter that they were going to play Japan again. Did you guys see that?
I didn't see it. Someone texted
Yeah.
it to me though.
Yeah.
I saw it not on Twitter, and I laughed at it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't see that happening. Then they're going to tour in the fall, the month of September. And then after that, they're going to be recording Farmhouse at Trey's Barn. And that they'll release the next year, obviously. And then they'll tour in December again and end at Big Cypress, which is, the biggest money-making event on the continent on New Year's Eve. And it's just so crazy. It's just to think that this year they're leading up to what is probably, I think it's probably one of the biggest musical accomplishments of any American rock band ever. And this is like leading up to that. And yeah, so it's a big year for them.
Where were you guys all in your fish going careers at this time? Not you, Brian. Sorry, not to exclude you, but just because I don't want to put you on the spot, which I just already did. So
I was
sorry.
not.
I saw, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I saw the most, it was one of the years that I saw the most shows.
Wow.
As I said, I saw the like 3 shows immediately after this one that we're covering today. Yeah. So I saw Virginia Beach, Merriweather, Camden. Then I saw the 12:15 show that RJ mentioned earlier, in Sky Center. I saw the Hampton shows and then Big Cypress.
Nice.
So it's one of my busier years of Fish. And yeah, it was fun. I did a lot of those shows with my wife. We were not yet married, but we have since become married. And that was pretty cool.
I think saying wife is kind of implies that. Just for future reference.
Just saying. Well, it's weird because like
He's
at
just
the
trying to
time
set the timeline
of my
right.
wife, yeah, we were dating, and yet she still married me after going to these shows.
Yeah, that says a lot.
You could have been married only for like a short period.
Yes, and stayed married. So yeah, good. There it is. Let's see. Yeah, I was kind of digging it. I'd seen Trey early in the year, so I really want to talk about the Trey tour because I always like to talk about that. Trey Anastasio acoustic and electric tour from the spring of '99 because it was fucking awesome. I saw the 9:30 Club show where Tom was at that show. Trey declared it the Drunken Mayhem night because a lot of the shows had been in theaters and this was in a club. And so people were standing, people were drinking. It was rowdy. Tom sat in with Trey and they did a couple songs that to this day remain buried. And then the trio set was just awesome. It was one of the best sets I've ever seen Trey Anastasio play.
Wow.
It was
it's a legendary set for sure.
And I know they have soundboards and they should release that after they release insert list here. So that's where I was. I was, happily seeing them kind of semi-regularly for a minute there.
Megan, what was your journey?
Yeah, I was kind of like turning away from them. I just wasn't seeing them as much. It's unclear if I really only did see one show, but that's the only show that I have the ticket for. And I really tried to be good about keeping my tickets, but I barely remember this show. I was super into raves. I was into hip hop. That's what I was going to see mostly is hip hop and going to raves and dancing all night. And yeah, I just wasn't super into Fish anymore. I would go see them like if it kind of like the opportunity presented itself. But yeah, I didn't go to New Year's this year, which was like, it was in Florida, but it was the first year I hadn't gone to New Year's Eve Fish in like 3-4 years. So yeah, it was like tides were changing for me. It was weird. A lot of my friends were too. We were all kind of like moving away. I don't know. How about you, RJ?
Yeah. Yeah, sort of similar. I mean, I went to college in 97, as I mentioned, probably with like a bunch of friends from high school because I went to Ohio State. So like you go to a big school like that, or I did at least, and you go with your high school friends. And, so I had hung out with my high school friends for, many years, and most of them were my friends since like 4th or 5th grade. So in '99, I decided to do an internship in Washington D.C. and I like signed up for this program. It was like a presidential management internship program. I don't know if it exists still, but I still don't really know what it meant. But I think I had to apply for it. And
learn how to
That's
manage
cool.
presidents.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
I got a job for this consulting firm that was based downtown on K Street, and it was a bunch of former CIA people, and I was like researching random shit. Like the internet didn't really work. Like I didn't really do anything work wise, but I ended up like living in like a high rise apartment in like Springfield, Virginia, like with someone I'd never met. Like it was basically the first time I had been away by myself, and I was like, what the hell am I like doing here? It was very confused. It was like a very confusing summer, but I went to see the Merriweather show and the Camden show with my girlfriend at the time, who was from the DC area, and then I saw those 2 Cincinnati shows in December. But that's all I saw in '99. So I was sort of like, it was a weird year of Fish for me. But Jonathan and I have argued many times on this podcast about the Camden chalk dust, actually, and I think we won't re-argue about it today. But one top 5 jams of all time for me. But
I walked out of
you
there
don't have
and
to
remembered
refuse
the
that,
tweezer.
Jonathan.
Oh, the tweezer's so gorgeous.
Mhm.
Oh
I
my
remember the
God.
tweezer.
Oh,
I didn't
oh my
remember the
God.
chalk dust.
I mean, the chalk dust, I don't know what there is to
It's
argue
fine.
about personally, but I mean, when Trey just decides to be like, hey, I'm going to be Robert Fripp for about 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm not going to play a wrong note, and hey, it's still in chalk dust, and oh my God, we're going to go into Roguet, but I know that Roguet is a tough topic here in this crowd as well, so.
Roguet?
But you go 20, thank you. You go 20-minute ambient tweezer into Mountains in the Mist, like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yes,
That's good.
Oh
please.
my God.
Yes,
I have nothing. I have
please.
no
Oh my
problem with the tweezer.
Yes,
I'm
please.
just saying
Right.
that chalk dust is a top 5 for me. all
Plus
time.
the Birds of a Feather. Nobody talks about it. It's like 14 and a half minutes, and it's like
Everybody's hung
like,
up on that chalk dust.
like rises through this like groove, and like they're like, completely locked in. Oh,
However, we're here to talk about a different show.
Are we?
But I think we're gonna isn't Brian supposed to give us our cultural
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what was going on in
cultural
99,
desk
Brian?
report?
well, y'all may remember if you have listened to such episodes as last week's episode that I was very angry about the state of pop culture in yeah, Andrew, you're right. The gin was awesome. The I'm a Man gin. Good job. Wait, good comment there. I like that. I was very angry about the state of pop culture at the end of 1998. And let me tell you, 7 months later, it doesn't get much better. It actually, arguably, gets a lot worse. Okay. Can you put up the parental advisory
Let's do it.
banner there, RJ? All right. Where do you want me to start? TV, movies, or music? Because it all fucking sucks.
Start with
I
movies.
mean, we could skip it. I think you've just covered it
Why?
right there.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
Also,
We
does
could, but
Woodstock
we have-
'99 fit
No,
in
I
anywhere
don't
in
want to
here?
skip it.
No,
I'd
Woodstock
rather
to
talk
99
about
Disney.
that.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
So
You
the
take care of it.
movies,
There it is.
I'm just gonna sit
number
back for a second.
5, we've got this has an amazing cast, but it's a terrible movie. Liam Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, Lily Taylor, Bruce Dern in The Haunting. Guess what percentage this is enjoyed on Rotten Tomatoes? Just guess.
What?
Just throw out a number.
26.
23.
17% of people enjoyed this movie.
Damn,
You're making.
that's low.
You just
That's
made
low.
this up, by the way. You just made up that movie, and I wouldn't have known it either way.
Do you want me to play the trailer? I could do that.
No.
Number 4, the only Disney movie I've never seen, Tarzan.
Isn't
number
that
3.
like a Phil Collins thing? Didn't he write all the music to that?
He did. Yeah, the music's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh.
I've never seen
Um,
it either. But
Mm-mm.
I don't know about you, Jonathan. I'm just not really into like colonial, like white men center the story, like taming the stop. I'm just gonna stop.
Is it Brendan
Um,
Fraser?
No, that
No,
was
not
real.
live
That was
action.
real action.
Okay. All right. Cool.
you're thinking
Number
of George of
3.
the
This
Jungle.
was a movie that was very, very important to 1999, summer 99, Brian. But later in life, I realized I probably that should just move on from it, which is
Oh, you
American
brought it up.
Pie.
Oh, come on. It's a
number-
classic. It's a classic.
It
that's
is,
not-
but
that's
like,
not
come
horrible.
on.
I mean,
Probably
I
doesn't
learned a
age
lot
well.
from that movie. It just
No.
doesn't age very
It
well.
probably didn't age well. I haven't seen
No,
it since
I'm
1999.
sure it does
but-
not.
Number 2, Another Adam Sandler, slightly offensive movie here, Big Daddy. And number one, for the fourth year in a row, I believe, we have one man at the center of the 4th of July movie breakout, which is
Don't say it.
Wild Wild West.
Oh shit! I thought you were going to say Adam Sandler.
Not either. All right. This is the best. I have not seen any of these movies.
Where do you
I've
guys want to
never
go
even-
next?
I didn't
Music
even
or
think they were all
TV?
real.
Let's
Brian could have
finish
made
the
up all
music.
those movies, and
TV.
I would have believed them.
Yeah.
All right, TV. We only have 3 selections here. You know why?
Hmm.
You know why?
Writer's
Writer's
Right.
strike.
strike?
No.
No.
Because
That
every
was years
goddamn American was watching the same fucking show 6 days a fucking week. In spots 1 through 3, we have Who Wants to Be a
MASH.
Millionaire on multiple days
God,
of the
that's
year.
awful. Garbage.
Number 4, we have ER, and number 5, we have Friends.
I'd like to phone a friend.
Exactly.
Great call here. Great call here, Brian. Sopranos came out in 99. That is not up for the domestic TV ratings because it's HBO, but yes, that is the greatest show of all time. And then music.
Oh boy.
We got one good band in here at least, but they're playing
Okay.
a terrible song. Number 5, we have Whitney Houston's It's Not Right, but It's Okay.
But it's okay.
Number 4, this was the song of summer 99. I know RJ had this on a couple of mixtapes. This is Ricky Martin's Livin' La Vida Loca.
Oh, ouch.
Number 3. Pearl Jam. Last Kiss. Number 2. This is slightly an offensive song right here. Destiny's Child's Bills, Bills, Bills. Get the fuck out of here. Just stop this. Number
You
1.
don't like girl bands, Brian?
Beyonce.
I like girl bands, but I'm not into no. Number
Bills,
1,
Bills.
Jennifer Lopez, If You Had My Love. It was a time when I realized, oh my God,
Mm.
Jennifer Lopez does more than just act, and Future marry Ben Affleck. She also writes songs I don't really enjoy.
Also, all that stuff's made up.
Does
and
she write them?
Congratulations.
Everything I just said was a real thing that millions of Americans were into, and it just, the beauty of this, the counterculture still existed. We had Fish, and we had Zony, Droney, Blissed Out, and ambient, Fish to rely on, to go back to and be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is amazing.
I just want to shout out the folks in the chat who are battling it out over the merits of Regis Philbin, who I love.
It
And
was funny.
I used to watch his morning show.
He didn't
Regis.
become
With
like
Regis and Kelly
he didn't
all the
become a
time.
weird mega guy, right? That was someone else.
No,
I hope
he didn't-
not.
I
he
don't
didn't
think
make it
so.
that far.
No.
Okay.
He's
Um,
kind of charming, wasn't he? Did he get
he
canceled?
was-
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
No, I don't think he got canceled. I don't think so. I think
You
he
know who
died
got
before he
canceled
canceled.
recently?
Reach.
You guys know who got
Should we
canceled
go
recently?
down this road?
Who?
Well, we can talk
Hmm.
about it in the post game.
We're still in the
Speaking of
parental
bonus.
advisory segment. You can talk
Yeah,
about
we-
this.
Well, there's been a lot of chatter about. Sorry, I don't know why I'm bringing this up because I had a conversation with someone about it earlier. So apparently, did you guys hear about the controversy with Marcus King?
No.
No. I
So
know his wife is.
Yeah, but
yeah, so
we
he
should-
married
we
this
should-
like
Challenging, right?
we should
Probably.
not say it. Just
we
keep
should just
moving.
move on.
Anyway, there was something that happened that I didn't know anything about until this
Google
week.
that,
So,
y'all. All right.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, so Megan,
How about those monochrome ties? All right, go on.
Yeah. God bless Regis Philbin.
Regis.
Can we talk
what
about
a
this
great
Fish
American?
concert?
Fine. This Brian, you were talking about this before we started, but this is a real druggy Back on the Train opener. It just feels like drugs. You know, there's like
Yeah.
it's
It's
so,
trancy.
I think you were having a flashback, dude.
Yeah, maybe I
Yeah, we
was.
should. Meg, can you run through the set list and then we'll
Yeah.
dive into this because I have thoughts about the way that this show opens up. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So set 1 is Back on the Train. What's the Use? Billy Breeze. My Mind Got a Mind of Its Own. Into Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley. Axela into Rift. Wolfman's Brother into Maze. Ending with Loving Cup.
So I found the show really interesting to get into because almost no one applauds for the first 3 to 4 songs. And it's like it's fascinating that this band is like right out the gates. Like this is the third Back on the Train ever, and it starts with just the drums, and then it goes into the Chugol groove, and then the lyrics. You would imagine most people in the audience have no idea what this song is because the first version was played a week ago. So who knows if the tapes are catching up. And then what's the use? People are applauding because it sounds for a second like 2001. And
Hmm.
it goes in the song nobody knows. And then Billy Breathes is a ballad, like in that third slot. It's just kind of an odd spot to put that song, even though it's very beautiful. Um, but it's like you talk about drugs. I feel like this is
I don't know
scattered
anything
throughout
about drugs.
99. And man, you feel like I feel in a sense like this is something that was a theme throughout 99 and 2000 was the band was trying to set a mood and almost didn't
Mm.
care about the energy out the gates in some situations. They just wanted to set the zone and ease their way into the show. And so like you get this very slow shuffle, like slow boogie to the Back on the Train. I really like this way it's played. We were saying this before we went live, like the song hasn't really changed in 20 years, but it almost feels like it's a completely different song now just because it always starts with Trey's guitar versus Fishman's drums. Um, and then what's the use? I mean, it's beautiful. And for that to be played while the sun is out, it defies logic, but sometimes logic must be defied.
So I look at. I'm going to skip over Back on the Train because I don't disagree with most of what you said there. So I love it. I think it's
Most.
swampy. Some of us who
The other parts will be
saw
addressed.
the Trey tour like knew that song, but it
Fair
wasn't
point. Fair
everybody
point.
because he
Good
was
call.
playing small venues, and some people didn't think it was. Oh, didn't go. I don't know why. I thought it was like, well, Jerry Band was worth seeing when the Dead were worth seeing, so we go to both, and I was right. But what's the use? Originally, to me, and still to this day, sounds really like um, it sounds like when they on the record, it sounds like they captured the sound of audio through a large PA reaching through space in humid air.
Yes.
It feels
It
like
does smell.
hot, humid summer day.
Yes. In
That
North Carolina.
and
Yes.
and here we are in Charlotte, North Carolina, second song in the set. That is exactly what you must have had on July 7th. It had to have been hot without looking it up.
It was
It
stormy. It was
was
rainy and stormy too.
there you go. So the the guitar leads like slide through that humid air into your brain. And yeah, Andrew says humidity helps sustain. I believe that completely.
Hmm.
It humid. I actually I aspired to look up research about sound traveling through humidity, but then I didn't. So somebody look that up and come back to us with some data. Um, I think it's perfect. And yes, I agree that it was probably lost initially on a lot of the audience, but it conveys well on this tape. It's,
Yeah.
I love Billy Breeze. I think the call for that in the third slot is a little puzzling, but clearly they're in their own head. They
Yeah.
being maybe Trey, maybe the
Yeah.
whole band. They're laying out what they want to hear, what they want to play, and it's either you're on the bus or off the bus, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's like when I first looked at this show, I was like, "Oh, this breaks my cardinal rule of flow." Because the first set, it doesn't flow perfectly. But if when you listen to it and think about like what we're talking about now and just this like you were saying Brian, this vibe that they were setting down and like you're saying Jonathan, an intention to play whatever the fuck you want, that's when this band does the best. And I think that this is a space where yeah, it's bright outside, but it's like hot summer day and they're going to play these three songs that don't really make sense together, but when you listen to it, it kind of gets you in this like unsettled mood. Like I would do anything to go back and find out what I felt like in that moment because it just must have been so like unsettling to hear these songs played in this order at the beginning of a show. It's so unique. And now I think this version of What's the Use, like now when I hear What's the Use, it's like the most gorgeous music ever. But here it's like eerie and it's like spooky and just kind of creepy. It's interesting. It sounds different.
I like the spooky.
Yeah,
I was
it's good.
thinking during the start of this, like we were talking last week about the band has been evolving throughout late 96, 97, 98, and it's almost like their songs have fully caught up to the evolution, and now their songs sound like the way that they've been jamming. And so like it's a like What's the Use could have been plucked out of 4 minutes of the Nassau Roses Are Free. Like there's nothing that contains that riff, so don't come at me, with your Brian said that the What's the Use is in the Nassau Roses Are Free, because I didn't just say that, but you know what I mean. Like the vibe could be plucked out of that type of jam, and then it's placed into a song, and now they're playing that as like confined spaces. What are your thoughts on all this, RJ?
Thank you so much for asking, Brian. I mean, is there a more 99 call than What's the Use in the 2 slot? Really? It's like,
Right.
Totally. Totally.
it just fits this vibe so well. I do think this first set is a little as well. I don't, Jonathan, you said it about Billy Breeze. I felt it about like the first half of the set. It was a little puzzling, but definitely like we don't really care. We're just gonna do what we want to do, you know. And Megan, I think 2 weeks ago when we talked about 97, you mentioned like 97. Now when you hear it, you hear like the darkness of the era coming in. This is when, like, 99 is when I hear it, and it's like it really shines through. Not like 2003 and 2004 when it's like at the forefront. Here it's,
Yeah.
to me, it's like really, like they don't really give a shit. They're just playing, and I think that we see that in like it's very like polarizing, I think, in terms of how the shows develop. It's either like they're they just do what they want to do, and I think it is awesome at times, and then at times it's just sort of like, the hell's going on here? I think the lead
Yeah.
up to Big Cypress, the last, I don't know, month up to Big Cypress is kind of perfect, but this summer is a little bit like they're just sort of doing whatever they want, and I think most fans are on the ride, but I do think there's some like puzzling calls, but they don't really seem to be worried about like set list flow or what, they're just trying to do what they want.
I would argue that they're it's consistent with how they've always done it. It's just that their vibe is different.
True.
Our vibe was
True.
different. And, I think something I said when we were doing 1995, which is that they were very in touch with the audience vibe in the 90s
Yeah.
and 1.0. And the audience vibe was darker.
True.
It was really
The
dark.
lots
Yeah.
were shadier.
Yeah.
There was, stuff going on that wasn't chill.
But I do think, I think you're right, Jonathan. But I think like Trey talked about this in our Undermine interview, the 97 interview, where he was like, in 92, 93, they were very, the audience was at the center of this, like, we're going to take you on an adventure that no other band can do. And I think 99 was a little more like self-centered, like, and I don't think that's necessarily a
I've
bad thing.
never heard somebody suggest that drugs make one self-centered before. I'm going to take a note and see if we can cross-reference that with
Just,
other.
if we
Yeah,
could
let's
do
find
some
some
research,
data on that.
I
Mhm.
think you're right, RJ. I feel like there is a marked shift from
Yeah.
even 7 months earlier when we listened to the Worcester show. That sounds like the same band who has been playing, who we've been talking about. Like they've undergone a very significant evolution. This does feel like the first time where there's almost a lack of care about
Mhm.
how the show is going to impact. Like there's less of a desire to please people rather than to please themselves, which is why, as we're going to get into with the second set, it kind of just like it kind of just unfolds, and there's no rush and there's no desire to like, aside from two very significant moments, there's no real desire to like peak the energy. It's almost just like, let's just see like how the jams evolve. Let's just take our time with this. And that happens a lot through the tour. Like 7:13, the Great Woods Show. 7:15, that second set with the crazy meat stick that's 20 minutes long and the giant split open and melt. Aspects of Oswego, the Alpine Valley Show. These are shows that like they're almost playing as if they're playing to no one and just trying to, capitalize on what they feel in the moment. I do think like the one moment in this first set that we should really center on for a couple minutes is the
My
Sally.
mind's got a mind of
Oh
its
my
own,
God.
right?
Yes, of course.
I know.
The
I feel like
bluegrass
that
song.
part, the bluegrass song, they're like, and now we just play a bluegrass song
Love it.
because like that's what we do, right? It just doesn't make any sense in a set at all.
It's
But
so
then,
great. What are
yeah.
you kidding? This is like they needed this so badly. I want to get to what Brian, he's over there,
Yeah.
what Brian wants to talk about, but I completely disagree with you. This is
Yes.
after those, the Chugel, what's the use? Billy breathes, everything is down, everything is chill, and suddenly a laugh, a little up tempo, bing, energy shot, and now Sally.
I mean, this is so good.
First since Halloween, so a significant gap on the Sally. I mean, I just wrote sirens and booming mic, and we are in the middle of the 99-2000 groove. Like you have everything here within this jam. And the chord that Trey keeps hitting is the most hypnotic shit that I've heard in like 6 hours. And oh my God, I was totally taken by it.
Yeah, the jam like
yeah.
launches off into this like repetitive riff, and Mike is just like playing above it, and he's just like slapping his bass. I mean, and then it's just like that funky space dance groove. It's just, I know that I was losing my mind during this because this is like one of my all-time favorite covers, and this version, it hits really, really, really good, and then it like fades out and it gets super quiet, and the crowd is clapping. Like that doesn't happen a lot at Fish shows in '99. Like it just sounds awesome. It's a really great moment.
It's so sleazy, like in the
Yeah.
best way. It's like
Just what
it
Sally's about.
it fits so perfectly in this.
So
Like
good.
it's like you said, Jonathan. It just is like a perfect, and they needed. It's like and for those of us who are baseball fans, it's like it like sometimes you just need a base hit, and you just need like
Good
you
way to
just
put
need
it.
to get on base, and they had just like this was like it was kind of like a double, but it was really it fit perfectly, fit the vibe
Mhm.
perfectly.
Yeah,
And
it's
and
really good.
Yeah,
sorry,
I mean,
Jonathan, before you,
this is
let me just say
no, go
one more
ahead.
thing. Sorry, just about the like one thing I'm learning from this series, and we've all listened to so many Fish shows for so many years, is how they've like adapted these songs to the era. Like we
Yeah.
talked about 2001, like being it's been around since 93, and then in 90 like 7, 98 it starts to like fit, like I feel like Sneak and Sally, same thing. It's like 98, 99. It's like this is like so perfect for this era, and I think that keeps happening, and I think it's a good reason to keep a lot of covers in your repertoire because they can like they're a little more malleable than originals in some ways, I think. I don't know. That's
So
my
Yes,
thought.
true.
especially
Yeah.
when they're songs that have been through a few hands. And we'll touch on 2001 again soon. But yeah, I think this Sally is just exactly what the dancers needed. The band was, maybe they came out with a plan or something, and they did that, and then we're like, all right, now let's just do this, and it's great. It's an absolute like all timer kind of version. Like
Mhm.
great throwdown. Uh, you get the jam loop that Trey liked to throw on 99, and yeah, it's just so fun.
It kind of showcases like we've talked about this a few times, and this is going to increasingly become more of a theme as the band evolves, but just the impact of technology. And like those sirens were around in 97 and 98, but they're like the centerpiece at this point in time. And when Trey goes to throw down a loop, like he's he's almost thinking based on, I mean, this is, the band has changed their stage setup. So Mike and Fishman are the center of the stage at this point in time. Trey's off to the side. Page was off to the side in his same spot. But, you get the sense of the entire band revolves around the rhythm right now. And Trey thinks about
Mhm.
himself Les is the lead of this band, which he'll defy that intention 3 days later when they play the incredible Camden Chalk Dust, a top 5 jam of all time, some people would say. And
I have the list. If anyone wants the list, just let me know. I have the list.
I want the list. I think we should do the list when we're done
Yeah.
with this whole series. Just go back through it all. But for the majority of these jams, his goal is rhythm. His goal is kind of setting atmosphere, setting tone, rather than being up front and center. Mike, more than almost any other period in Phish history, is the center of Phish right now.
Oh, definitely, especially in set 2.
Especially. What else we got to say about set 1? I have one more thing I'd like to say.
The Wolfman's
Yeah.
is groovy. I really like this Wolfman's, and I like the way it kind of grooves down into what becomes Maze. I think that's a better transition than you might get looking at it on paper on Phish.net with its just bracket arrow, not line arrow or whatever those are supposed to mean. And I think, that's kind of a keeper.
Thank you to our friends at Phish.net for all you do. We greatly
we have
appreciate
to
it.
talk about this Axilla too, because
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
the ending, right?
Well,
Talk about it, Jonathan.
yes and no. There was a question among the
Axilla
group.
2. We have to talk about this. Axilla 2 was a good play on words there, Megan.
Yeah.
Ah.
Axilla.
Yeah, so
2.
this is when they brought back Axilla 1 and dumped Axilla 2, they included the ending, and so there was some discussion amongst ourselves about when did they start doing that. And it seems they pretty much have always done this since they brought it back in 95 or
They haven't
31,
always
95?
talked on the 2 ending,
Or
but it's
regularly.
clearly there.
Somebody else needs to undertake the project. Maybe attendance bias, Brian, out there. I see you there, friend, in the chat.
Ooh,
To listen to
assignment.
every Axilla since 12/31/95 and note whether it has the Axilla 2 ending or not. Because it would be cool if it were on Phish.net and annotated, but I'm not going to ask
That
those
would be.
guys to do that work. They do plenty of work. So somebody else ought to provide that data to them. And maybe one of you fine listeners out there if Brian's not going to do it.
I can find out if it exists. It might be in a spreadsheet somewhere. Anyway, great point.
Somebody ought to do it.
Somebody should do it.
If it's not there. If it's
I
on a
like the
spreadsheet,
delegation, Jonathan.
get it on there. Yeah, well, I'm not doing it.
Great delegation.
It'd be helpful information is all we're saying.
I'm great at
the-
leading a team, but don't ask me to do things.
I will say, and I just checked this, the Loving Cup closes set 1, which on paper you'd be like, okay, whatever. Loving Cup's been played 146 times. It's only closed set 1 14 times, which is pretty wild. This version, you got these kind of like drony, ragey peaks from Trey. It's a little bit different from just your typical shred it, try to recreate the Rolling Stones vibe. It's I guess it is more in the vibe of when Loving Cup was recorded, but less barroom, less Americana, more let's add some soundscapes to this peak. It's a very cool version that I would encourage people to check out.
Sounds great. And I love this ending the first set. Like, it's such a good exclamation point. I like it better than the encore.
I like
It's a
it
good
when
spot for it.
songs that close shows normally are not in that slot. Put them in
Agreed.
other slots. It
Mm-hmm.
breaks
Mess
up
around.
expectations.
Yeah.
You guys really I was attempting to make the segue. Speaking of ending the first set, let's take a quick break. All right, Megan. Can we have a serious conversation right now about this 8 minutes of noise that leads into 2001 and whether it is
Yes.
I know there's gonna okay, here like I'm an experimental music person. Let me
Are
just
you?
put that out there. What
Are
am
you?
I not?
Okay. You
guys
are.
know. Go ahead.
You're about
ahead
to
and
complain
contest
about
it.
8 minutes of noise. Go
I
on,
know.
experimental music
Please
fan.
do.
I'm just saying, let's just say that there's 8 minutes of noise before the
This-
start of 2001.
This is not noise. If you want
No,
noise,
come
I
on.
got some links to send you, dude.
I got plenty,
It's
dude. I have
soundscape.
so many links. Believe me, I don't need more links. But
This is the entry to the swamp, RJ. This is like,
I
you
understand.
know how when you like go to shows and like the first set, like it's bright and like everything seems kind of normal and okay, and then like set break happens and you're like, okay, I'm going to survive. It's okay. And then set 2 drops and all of a sudden it's dark out and you are like fucked up and you're like, what's happening? Where are we? Like, that's what this is. They're
I've
like
never had that
bringing you.
experience.
I've
Okay,
heard of
well,
people talk
apparently
about
people
this.
have
Sounds
had that happen.
scary.
But like, this is like what they're doing. They're like putting you on the raft and like sending you off the bank, you know, and you're like going down this
Ooh, I
like
like that imagery.
river with like swamp and like moss on the banks, and you're like, you know, there's
Mist
like,
everywhere, so you can't really
yeah,
see that far.
Well, can
it's
I
like
just ask my
smoggy
question
mist, and
and
there's
then
like birds fight. I'm still setting the stage, RJ.
for
There's
my
like
question?
birds and
She
there's
has
like
8 minutes.
pines. I have 8 minutes, and I'm just gonna like play it out.
I'm
It's
listening
just
to it right now. Keep
psychedelic,
going.
like love. Like, it's just all the vines are hanging down, and you're like moving them out of your way as you're like going down this raft. And you don't know even where you're going. It's just fucking perfect. And then when it
All
drops
right.
into 2001, you are like, oh my god, I'm here. This is where I'm meant to be. I'm gonna dance my ass off, and like I am sweating. I'm not wearing a lot of clothes. It's the summer. I'm young. It's 1999. I'm, yes, yes. This is perfect. This is actually why I picked the show.
Or
Okay.
it's the heads up, show's set starting. Get back to your seat. We'll wait.
All right. Well,
No,
I guess I
no, it's
won't. I guess I
not
will
as
not
fun.
eat. I guess I will not.
No, let's hear it,
answer-
RJ.
I will not ask my question.
Okay, what's your question,
And
RJ?
to Brian's, to try the 8:10:97 Bowie from Deer Creek 8+ minute intro. I was there. That was great. I'm not.
How did
I'm just. I went.
how
I've
did that
seen.
version
Fucking.
compare
I've
to the
fucking
Alpine
seen.
22 version you saw?
Was it as good?
I mean, I already said what I think online. I'll say it again. The Alpine 22 might have been the best Bowie I've ever seen.
Might have.
8:10:97 would be number 2 or number 1, depending on how I feel at the time. Okay, I've seen Animal Collective. All right, like I've
Okay.
like let's just like I don't want you guys trying to tell me that I
nothing.
don't know what noise music is, and I don't need any more links. My question is this 8 minutes of noise? Is it additive? Is it detracting, or is it neutral in the 22 whatever minutes of this 2001?
Additive.
I think it depends on your on how you feel about listening to 99 Fish. For me,
Mm.
if I go to 1999 Fish, I'm expecting this sort of stuff. I want this. Like, one of my favorite shows from 99 is 10/9/99. The majority of that show are drone swell intros and outros. Like, they
Yes.
kind of play songs every so often, but like the majority of that show is them
Yes.
just being like, here's a bunch of sirens and swampy vibes. I like that, and I like, similar to how I like 2.0 Fish, I like that this sort of sound is isolated to an era where you can go listen to it, but then you could step out and you could go back to 10/29/94 and hear this Fish that's hyper efficient and very fast and has no time for these types of segments of music, or 20 21, 22, 23 Fish where they're playing really long jams and there's a ton in there. To me, 99 is all about that. Just like, there's a lot of pressure on these guys right now, but there's also still like no real eyes on them, as is evidenced by the terrible pop culture list I shared midway through this episode. And so they can kind of do whatever they want. And, that's got it. It's almost, to equate this, you equated it to baseball earlier. I almost equate this to like when an NBA player scores like 65 plus points in a game. Like, once you get above 50, you're just like pulling out your dick and being like, look at that. Look at that. Like, that's what you're doing at that point in time. And that's kind of what Fish is
That's
doing
not
right now.
appropriate.
Is they're just being
You're
like,
actually making RJ's case.
they're just kind of being like, look at us. Like, this is who we are, and we can do whatever we want right now.
Okay,
And
here's
sometimes
okay.
that's what you want to see.
I think this is a slightly lazy noise intro. I
Okay,
think that building intentionally, using layers to build like an 8-minute soundscape, like listen to My Bloody Valentine and any ever.
But they're channeling that.
They
And,
are,
yeah,
but it's
I'm
but this
listening
to
to
me
it
comes
right
across as I
now,
don't really
and
care what
it's
you think as an
actually
audience member. I
quite
think this
pleasant.
is okay. I
At
I
about
find it
two
to
and a
be a
half minutes
little.
in, Paige
I,
goes into the Fender Rhodes, and he's doing some
I
nice
find it disrespectful.
textural melodic playing as everybody else is building swells of noise. And now we're about 5 minutes in, and it's building tension. It's building
Yes.
tension. I don't know what book you're reading, booky guy you are that you were supposed to be listening to this. This is intense. This is great,
Okay,
and then it's gonna
that's fine.
drop.
I'm just telling you, I don't think
And
it is.
it's I think you've missed the boat on a really
That's
What
fine.
The
one thing
swamp
I will
boat.
say,
That's fine.
just to add on to this, this is making me think about. I went and saw 2001 in the theaters about a month ago. Side note, it was like one of the greatest experiences of my entire life. Like that movie is meant to be seen on the big screen. But my wife and I were talking on the way out of the movie, and I don't want to call her out here, but like I think I'm going to back her up by what I'm saying. She said, uh, "Was I supposed to get that, or was I supposed to just enjoy it?" And I was like, kind of both. Like, there's a lot to get in that movie, but there's also a lot to just be like, oh my God, this is the most gorgeous movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, how did he do this in 1969? The music accompanies it perfectly. The set design is absolutely beautiful. Like every movement is like perfectly thought through. And there's like full scenes in that movie. There's one scene that just like tracks the spaceship for like 6.5 minutes and nothing else happens. And you're just supposed to be like, that looks like a spaceship in outer space. How did you do this, Stanley? And it's him kind of just being like, I can do it, so I'm just going to do it.
I also want to add that at this point, it's almost just about 7 minutes in. It's crazy tension. It's non-melodic, but it's definitely tension. And the audience goes to Brian's comment earlier. The audience is going ape shit. The people you can hear from the crowd are yelling and screaming and freaking out because it's madness. And
I do remember that. I do
I'm
remember
on
the
board for
lawn
madness.
when that broke. I do remember that. I was on the lawn. It was insane. I mean, people were losing their minds when that broke. When that like just drops into 2001. It's like, yeah, that's a moment that they're building up towards. That's RJ, that's rock and roll. Come on.
I'm not saying it's not my rock and roll. Okay, first of all, it's harder to do that than to play a bunch of notes quickly in succession. It's way harder. And I think some of the
Mhm.
bands that I love a lot that are playing a lot right now can't do that. Like it's hard to keep
Yeah.
it's hard to build and keep attention with quiet and with space. I mean, like think about Jack Johnson, like Miles Davis, or On the Corner, or something like that, in a silent way. So any of those, that's like a master class in how you build energy through silence. But I just think there's some examples in '99 and 2000 that there's just I just think it's like a little bit. I think it's a little long. I think there's like not as much going on as I want to go on for too long. That's all.
I don't think you're wrong.
Fair.
I think
I,
Yeah.
that
I think
they're
he's
just
wrong.
like,
I think
I mean,
he's
I'm here for
entitled
it.
to that opinion, but I think he's wrong.
I just think that they're at a point where they want to just kind of play without any sort of urgency, and that's what's happening. And it's awesome that it's isolated here. This version also, there's
It's a
like a
3-hour
subtle.
show, by the way.
This is true. There's like a subtle groove shift around 15 minutes that just like for me as I was listening to this, like it just kind of showcases the prowess of this song throughout 99 2000. Like we talked a
Yes.
lot about it last week. Like 98 is where like 2001 becomes 2001. There's some great versions, great versions from 97. Don't get me wrong. But like 98, once like they kind of gloss over the funk and there's more space and there's more
Yeah.
ambient music or ambient music or ambient music, I don't know, that fuses in, like 2001 suddenly sounds more at home. And then in 99, like you have this version, you've got the Memphis version, there's a really good version from Philadelphia, there's a version at Sunrise at Big Cypress, which is so cool. 2000 has a bunch of really good versions. Like 2001 kind of defines the fact that this band is just going to allow like drone space to lead them into whatever the next chapter of their career is. And it does often make me, we'll talk about this a bit next week, but it does often make me wonder like what would have happened to Fish if they hadn't taken a break in 2000 and this was the sound that guided them forward, rather than it just like is a hard stop before they move into a very different sound upon returning from hiatus. Do you have any other questions to ask about space time continuum, RJ?
No, I just wanted to have a conversation. I know that's like
I think it's a
kind of
good conversation.
off limits
it
in
is.
this forum to discuss nonsense, but I
The
figured,
beauty of
throw
Fish
it out
is
there.
of
It's-
podcasting is you can't have conversations. Yeah.
It's not
Mhm.
saying, not having a conversation if we say you're wrong. It's not that it's not a conversation.
Should we go to
don't have
Twitter
to
Spaces for
agree.
this?
We
That
agreed
might
with
be a
you.
better
that
place
we
for
would have been done with
conversation.
this topic ages ago. We'd already be on You Enjoy Myself. But
Can I
we
just say
don't.
one more thing about the second set?
Of course.
You could say
You can say
lots
many
more.
more things.
Yeah, we're
My
gonna be
left
talking about it.
my
Jinx.
left toe is for stats people.
Oh, stop it.
I'm just
Stop it.
saying.
Stop it.
It's
Stop
just-
it.
it
Stop
just
it.
is.
Get out of here.
Just is.
No,
What?
done. We're done. It's over.
What?
There's no conversation.
This
Stop
we
it.
cannot get behind.
Stop it. Just
Wait,
stop it.
let's back up. In 1999, no.
Nobody
In
kept stats in 1990. At least I didn't.
That's not true.
Yeah.
In
Come on, let's be real.
2020, whatever this is, yeah, sure.
They've only ever played it in 1999.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah,
which
so-
is why it's
Three
I think
times.
it
This song
has
has been
the
played 4
it has a
times.
rare
Great.
it has like a rare gem quality, which is fine. But like
It's gorgeous. It is
It's
so.
It's so
It's-
pretty. Come
Oh,
on. It, like pulses and the reverb just builds and builds. It's just got
maybe if
this,
we get a soundboard, we'll know for sure.
living. I agree. I think it'd be amazing, but it's like so perfect here. It just comes out of that Down with Disease peak, which is just like amazing. And then you hear this like quiet, like it's so good. And then into Waiting. I mean, come on. It's beautiful.
well, and you also get Trey just really channeling feedback. I mean, for me, there's a version that's very close to my heart, but we only have one soundboard release of My Left Toe, and that's the 721.99. The Mike's Simple into My Left Toe into Caspian. That was an add-on to the Burgettstown 98 release. We did hear the 725.99 version from the archives from Curveball when Kevin Shapiro graced us with the From the Archives even after the festival was canceled, and they did My Friend, My Left Toe, Whipping Post, which is one of my favorite segments of music the band has ever played. But this, like,
I can't believe I led you straight into a 725.99 plug.
you didn't even see it. You didn't even see it. I don't know. I love this. I get it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, and you may have an opinion that doesn't allow you to enjoy this song. And so in that case, I'm sorry, but
That's too bad.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. And sorry, I'm gonna stop talking now because everyone's mad at me. But Brian from Attendance Bias said that I just spent all the goodwill I gained from that extended space conversation. And Brian, thank you for saying that. But if I was Mark, if I was bargaining with goodwill, this podcast would have ended years ago. So
I
all
didn't even know
I'm
you
gonna say
gained
about that.
goodwill.
Yeah, I didn't even know I
That's
had any.
confusing.
I will say just well, I do wonder what people thought of My Left Toe at the time, because where it's placed here, Disease is very straightforward, type 1, but then it kind of fades into My Left Toe. So Megan, you talk about the sensation of like it's set to, it's really dark. They've played this, some would say, too long intro to 2001. So like you're already, your sensation of like what you're supposed to, like where you are, like where your headspace is already just like drifting away. And they drop into this 8 minute long droney, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous ambient jam out of Down with Disease, and then into Waiting in the Velvet Sea. I've got to imagine a bunch of people just wrote like Down with Disease into jam.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like that's
Oh,
Or
that's how I
Down
would
with
imagine
Disease into
people,
Velvet Sea. Absolutely.
or that, yeah,
Yeah,
where they just thought it
exactly.
was just like Disease was finished and then there was a jam onto
Mhm.
it. But it's interesting. This is our third show that we've done in a row that has a Waiting in the Velvet Sea, And I mean, it's still as beautiful as it was the first time we did it, but like it's quiet. It's wild how like soft it is around the edges now.
Yeah.
Like 97's version starts with the sirens, and the sirens are kind of gone at this point. It's really just about Paige and it's about Trey's solo. It's kind of this and Bug are Trey's like big shining
Mhm.
moments in the overall set, which is really wild and probably why a lot of people don't totally return to the show, because the middle part of the set is quiet, contemplative. But I don't know, I loved it.
I mean, clearly that's where they were coming into this show, right? I mean, we can look at the set sound check, and it's pretty standard. Getting ready for the encore, sleep, played electric though. That's kind of cool. But yeah, after this big 2001, Down with Disease, as you say, Brian, is pretty straight ahead. The peak on it is immaculate though, so
Yeah. It's like
don't skip it.
so good.
It's so good. It feels really great, even though it's just a like 11-minute Disease. And then, yeah, we get this just gorgeous segment of RJ's pressing skip into Waiting in the Velvet Sea, and RJ pressing skip into Bug. It's just amazing. I really love it. And Andrew in the chat says quiet and contemplative works better on re-listen from home, and maybe it does. It depends on how you rock your shows, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a fair point, because I think that there
fair.
are
Yeah.
moments that like I've been to at a Fish show where I just didn't get until I re-listened to it at home. And I think that there were probably a lot of people. I don't want to speak for anyone. I mean, I haven't even pulled up like the reviews for this. I'm sure that they're horrible, right? But like,
They're mixed.
are they?
Yeah,
I
like
didn't
some
look.
people are like, most people are like, this is a little secret show that like, people don't talk about enough, but it's great ambient stuff. But then some people are like, this is the worst Fish show I've ever seen. But
Those people
you know,
needed to
and
get out
I,
more in
yeah,
certain other years.
I really would do anything. And I know I've already said this, but I would do anything to know like what I felt like in the moment. I wish I had remembered the show more, because like it is such a vibe. But I think all the calls in this whole second set are absolutely perfect. Like going from Waiting back into Toe, which is so like barely there and quiet, and then Bug just like creeps out of it. Like it's so, and this song, which is like, I don't know, just like a giant hug, and Trey's solo at the end is so muted and veiled. It's like, it's just really perfect. And I think it fits the whole, like, I think the whole second set is just like one long journey down that river, and everything just seems to like land perfectly into this yem, which is
So
just absolutely incredible.
can I ask another question? What did Waiting? So I have like I feel like my emotional attachment to Waiting came in at Coventry, and then like
Yeah.
in 2010 when I
I
saw it
remember
after,
at the
like
time people didn't like it.
yeah, I was wondering, did it have an emotional like weight for people at that time, or did that come later?
It did for me, but that's just because the song, like what the song is about, was like something I related to like so much at the time
Right
in my
then.
life. So yeah, this song like has always, I think it's one of Fish's best songs they've ever written. I mean, the
Yeah.
lyrics are unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
so truly beautiful. And I remember this song has always brought me close to tears, if not tears in a show. And I think it's just, yeah, even back then, it's tremendous.
But at the same time, I know people who were seeing them and would call it, Velveeta or whatever, and
Right.
velvet cheese, or they
They're
did
just not
not like this
sentimental, I
song.
guess.
I
They just
It
don't
was
have
a very
heart.
it was a very easy song to get into, like when I was first getting into Fish, and then very quickly learning that most Fish fans hated it. So you've got to just like put your head down and hate it too. And then yeah, I was at Coventry and like lost my
like that.
mind, because it was just
I mean, it's possibly the saddest moment in Fish history.
without
Yes.
question.
Oh,
Let's
for
move
sure
on.
it is. Yeah.
I
Can
just
we-
think it's like but it's beautiful. It's a nice, beautiful version, and this whole set does have a sentimental feel to it,
Yeah.
at least after Down with Disease. And I do wonder like how much of that was just them, again, like we said earlier, just kind of having fun versus anything intentional.
I think they were experiencing a vibe, trying to put out a vibe. Maybe it didn't catch on to everybody. I think that people listening to us here today should go back and listen to that show and assess it
I agree.
from today's point of view. I want to point out something that Bug was also new at this time. And before I saw it, and I don't remember right now when I first saw it, but
This is the
before I
second
saw
bug
it,
ever.
right.
That's crazy. I
Um,
forgot about that.
yeah, and I didn't see it that summer. So I was asking my friends. So a couple of my friends, Scotty and John, did most of the tour and taped it. Scotty taped it. And I remember asking John. So Scotty would tape the shows. John had the rig to transfer them, and I would go get tapes from him. And I remember it's like, what is Bug? Tell me what does this song Bug sound like? He looked at me, he just said, doesn't matter. Like, no, but what does it sound like? It doesn't matter. He trolled me with that for like, I don't know, a while.
That's so good. It's
Yeah.
crazy to think that this is the first time I heard it live. A song that just seems like it's been around forever, you know?
Yeah.
I could totally see, just like looking at this set and as we talk through it, how this would be obliterated on the internet the next day if there was Twitter
Yeah.
in 1999, because it's such a vibe in the middle of the set, and then it almost feels like, I mean, You Enjoy Myself, I think, is a great call to close any set, but it does, you could see the argument be made that, like, okay, they played a mellow, quiet set. These aren't my words. This is just projection. Like they played a bad set, is, I'm guessing, a lot of people felt. So just throw us Yem because You Enjoy Myself is going to make everybody happy. I like this middle section of the show, and I like how it ends with You Enjoy Myself, because tying 2001, a song that's been with the band for 6 years now and has like expanded to where their sound is, and then playing a set that is right in line with where their headspace is at this point in time, and then giving us the Fish song, it just feels
Yeah.
very thematic to me. It feels like traditional Fish meets current day Fish at that point in time, and I like that vibe. I like that energy of it. And you've got like a slightly extended Nirvana segment in You Enjoy Myself, tying it thematically to the larger part of the set. Really danceable jam segment, kind of start stop. The Washafitsi is over the bass groove that they have at that point in time. I feel like, had they not played the second My Left Toe, how excessive, they could have played a little bit of a longer jam there that people like, I don't know, RJ, you might have enjoyed a little bit more.
Yeah, but he would still have been done by the vocal jam. But
This vocal jam is actually good. Honestly, though, this vocal jam is good, and I don't like vocal jams either, but this one is actually good. I mean, this whole Yam is amazing, and
good
the
one.
the jam chart review just says like mic, like a stretched out mic, and it's so true. I mean, it's just this energy. There's like super energy in the song, which is funny because they've just played such a vibey show, and then they come in and just deliver this like super high energy Yam with this like just they're so funky, and the band is so like light and high pitched, and then Mike is just like laying it down. I can't believe I got to dance to this in real life. I'm just like happy for myself however many years ago. Great job. But the vocal is like great. Like there's like it sounds like it sounds like a swarm of killer bees or something. I don't even know that like humans can make those noises. Like it's really weird. It's crazy and it's cool. It's a good
Yeah, I
ending to
dig
the show. The set.
I think
RJ,
we
did
need
you-
I just think we need a soundboard of this to really evaluate the,
That's a good point.
20,
That would
20
be
to
amazing.
30 minutes of non-music here and really like, I mean, just by definition of, instruments being music. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying.
RJ, do you hate the show, RJ?
No, not at all. I thought it was great. I just
wait till we talk about what the song that comes next.
I thought it was very a great show, super like very fun. I mean, you have to understand, we've been doing this for 10 years. I mean, like, I don't know. There's a lot of nuance to these perspectives. I think,
Just
Totally.
with you too.
Yeah,
I'm just
no, I
saying,
We don't
agree.
have time for nuance. We only have 3 hours in this episode.
I know,
RJ.
exactly.
Mhm.
I just think there's a lot in 99 that is let's just say that saying that, like, all these ambient jams in 99 are equal is the same thing
Hmm.
as saying that it's all noise.
Yeah, I agree with
That's a
that.
fair point.
I
That's
totally
totally
agree with
So
that.
I think there's
Mhm.
there's a lot of difference in a lot of these shows.
And I
I think
think
I don't think they
That's not
cared
untrue.
that much. I don't think Trey cared that much this summer. I don't think he cared that much. I think he was having fun.
He said it was sloppy. He has said. I don't know that he,
Yeah.
his memory is that best, but he's admitted like I wasn't working on the set list. It was people might have heard a lot of sloppy fish that year.
Yeah.
I mean, I do wonder because they
I think it's
announced Big
good, though.
Cypress about 2.5 weeks from now. From this point, from this show. So they're clearly working on Big Cypress. They clearly know that that's happening, and they clearly have the numbers in their head that are like, we can bring. Brian said this in the chat earlier. Like, why are they the center of attention? Because they know that they can draw 80,000 fish fans down to Central Florida for the Millennium for a show that, oh, by the way, we're going to play an entire set of music overnight. Like,
Yeah.
there's an arrogance to where this band is at this point in time. I totally agree with you, RJ. And there's also a sense of like, they're not coming into 99 the way that they came into 96, which 96 coming off of the peak of 1995, there was a sense of let's figure out what's next, which led to a lot of the up and down nature of 1996. They didn't come out of 1998 after arguably two of the strongest years in their history and say, okay, now what's next? They kind of just doubled down on the sounds and just let the sounds and the zones take them. I personally like happen to really like where the direction was, but I can totally understand that like, how many times can you get yourself up to like reinvent yourself and be totally motivated about it? You know, that's just like not I mean, the great athletes, they win a title and the next year they don't play as well, or their team doesn't go as far because it's just freaking exhausting to do that sort of stuff. And B, they're planning probably the career defining moment of all of this, of 40 years of Fish. And while they're not focused on the logistics in July, the band isn't focused on the logistics, they are probably thinking in the back of their mind, like, that's where we're going right now. Like, that's the biggest thing that matters this year, not necessarily these shows in Charlotte and in Great Woods and in Pittsburgh and Albany, all these venues we've played a bunch of times that people are just going to keep coming to.
I hear what you're saying. I don't really think that's what's happening here. And I think the evidence on the table is that this show is not bad when I listen to it today. And the next 3 nights are also pretty good. And other shows from this tour are all pretty good.
Right.
So
they are still delivering.
They're
that's
delivering
the thing. Even
and
when they're
delivering
not,
on a top 5 jam of RJ's list a couple nights after this.
I just want to say,
the
Jonathan,
teaser was good that night too.
I want you to continue, but I want to say that like 3 years ago, Tom said, "Will you make me a playlist of your top 5 Fish jams of all time?" And it took that very seriously. It took me a long time, and it hasn't changed since then. And 2 of the 5 are from '99. So I just want that to like.
Wow.
I'm not saying that
What's the other
99
one?
is like. Well,
that's save it. That's a whole other episode. We should.
Okay.
That was so Chicago.
That was amazing.
I'm not here refuting you so much, RJ. I mean, some of this is for you a matter of taste, and that's if you don't have any.
Can
that's
refute
cool.
me all you want.
But
I don't care.
Brian, I am refuting the theory. I don't necessarily think that Brian is asserting that Fish didn't care, or they had bigger things on their mind. I don't think you're asserting that so much as postulating the possibility. I think that I just don't. I don't buy it. But not every show is for every fan.
I think Megan made a great pick.
I love it.
I think she made a great pick because I think that this era, and we're going to get into this over basically the next 10 years or the next 10 episodes, like this era is it good or is it not good? Are they playing shitty
Yeah, that's
or
true.
are they playing great?
Exactly. You can still find moments that are spectacular in all of these shows. And that's what's so incredible about this band. Even when they're not rehearsing, when they're not writing down set lists, when they're, dealing with outside stressors, when there's lots of substances involved, when the scene is kind of fucked up, they still deliver in moments that are transcendent. So it's
even
cool
if
to
it's
find these
8 minutes
shows.
of noise.
Yeah, it's still transcendent. Even if it's cool to find these shows that like maybe aren't kind of like the most talked about show and get to pick it apart. So that's why I want to do it, because I love doing that with you guys. And I was super excited to hear kind of the conversation that evolved from it.
And all this leads to, well, sorry, go ahead, RJ.
Nothing. No. Go, please. All this leads to, now I need to know. Where
All
where
of
does it
this,
lead?
The
do you need another
encore.
cliffhanger? All of this leads to all these drones, this zony space ambient music, of course, leads
Of
to
course.
a bar band jam of Awesome and a Funky Bitch with Derek Trucks on slide guitar in an encore that does not match the show at all. But
No,
I really love that it's there. It
Not
sounds
not
cool.
even close.
not even
20-year
close, but
old
it's great.
20-year-old Derek
it
Trucks.
stands up.
Wow.
It stands up. He
Wow.
Great.
kills it. He slays. It's
I mean,
so good.
Trey loves Derek Trucks. Like, we know that.
should.
I think he loved him then. Who doesn't? Like, one of the most lovable musicians like of all time, really. And man, it's cool. It's cool to hear. Possum, best possum ever, probably.
Probably, honestly, probably.
I'm just going to take really quick
Best possum I ever
Incredible
saw live.
Perps comment here. And I'm going to say we should do a bonus episode after next week's episode that is our top 5 jams of 1.0 because
Oh yeah, 1.0. This is
And-
going to be so much work for me. I'm going to just
Okay, but
this is
don't
gonna
make me do
absolutely
a
destroy
top
me.
5 jams of 2.0.
Or
no,
how
it'll be
about Brian
2.0
and I
and
Yeah.
do it?
3.0.
How about Brian and I do it, and then Megan and Jonathan refute our lists? If you don't want to do it yourself, you could just tell us what's wrong
For
with ours.
2.0,
Possible.
fair. I will.
No, that's
burn
super
you to the
fun. I love
ground
that.
on that one. Yeah, that'll be fun.
But
This
yeah,
was-
no, this is Chugel. We're returning, like time is a flat circle. We return
Exactly.
to the back on the train, the Chugel vibes. I wrote my only note during the Funky Bitch was perhaps the most basic encore on paper, but Derek Trucks adds the necessary fire to it. That's how I feel about these songs versus their performances.
He elevates what we're getting
He
there.
does.
It's so
He
cool
does.
to hear him come in and on his solos on these tracks.
It's
great
cool to
stuff.
hear
So
them.
good.
It's cool to hear him echo Trey's phrasings and
Yeah.
But with
Yeah.
his own
Solo,
very
but
distinct
with his
voice.
own, it just sounds
Mhm.
totally. It's almost like an effect, like it's like a
know.
weird pet. It's almost like a boomerang thing that just like, but it sounds totally different. It's great. It's a good ending to a show that, yeah, like you said, Brian, does not at all
Does
fit the
not
vibe
make
of the
sense.
show.
It doesn't make sense.
It's kind of awesome though.
I dig
Yeah.
it.
I just want to. I think it's important to close this episode with a review from a fish.net user who some of you have probably heard of. RJ, I think you've heard of a man named Timber Carini, who
Oh
says,
yes, of course.
when any fellow fan asks me to recommend a 1999 show that demonstrates what I mean by ambient jamming, I send them to this $7.99 mind eraser of a show. If they are with me at the time in the car or at my home, I stop what I'm doing. I imagine he does this and put on the 7.99
No question.
second set. This is the all caps perfect ambient jam filled show from the era. Many, many other shows from 99 have jaw-dropping ambient jams and entire sets filled with incredible ambient improvisational jamming, but very few have the complexity and continuity of this two-set apparition from the steamy underbelly of America.
Ooh, the underbelly.
Here we go. Let's go.
It
Let's
is
go.
North
Let's do it.
Carolina.
Jimmy, I'm coming to your house. We're gonna do this. I want to hear it through this perspective. Well, all right. Well, you know what? Never mind. I was gonna say something, but I'm not even gonna go
Everything needs a comparison, so I'm just going to read you the follow-up here from a review by Creatures of the Night. This was the first time I heard Derek Trucks. He made Trey look like a schoolboy, shredding through the encore like there was no tomorrow. Was Trey holding back for the kid? This goes to show that even at the worst shows I've seen, there are still nuggets of magic.
there. Wow.
There you
Did
have
Wow.
Is that your username, Creature of the Night on fish.net?
Yeah,
it.
you know
RJ's
me.
secret.
You know me.
While we're all up on the fish.net stuff, this show has a 4.2 out of 5 rating. So I think people like it.
I think people like
That's
it.
interesting.
People
I like
definitely
it.
like it. This is really
This was a
fun,
great pick.
guys.
This
And
is a
I
great
hope
pick.
that I saw people in the chat, our friends, Incredible Perp, Glenn, Andrew, who else? Oh, Brian, of course, from Attendance Bias. Yes, I do think my perspective
I
would change
agree.
with the soundboard listen. I mean, I think even using like good headphones or a good speaker, I was probably listening through these AirPods. The 99 shows are there's a lot wrong with them, I think, in terms of the audience recordings. I really
Totally
do.
agree.
No,
I
I
don't
agree.
know
It's
what
hard
it
to
is.
listen
It's
to. Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know
It doesn't
why.
I
sound
would
good.
argue that re-listen is not got the best sources on
No,
all
but
of
like the
shows.
97 and 98 shows still sound really, really good. This was
Mhm.
something I was thinking about, and maybe we can bring it up next week because the show we're going to cover next week, I've already selected and prepared for you all for this long weekend because I think about your time and my time and I value it when I select these
Mhm.
shows.
So
But the sound
respectful.
quality on this tape is freaking awful. And all of these shows from this era, you would just benefit from. And I don't mean any insult to tapers because maybe it was just really hard. Maybe Y2K was really fucking with tape systems. I don't know what it is, but there's a sense of it's too boomy, so you don't
Mhm.
get the nuance. And that also, to your point, RJ, the way the band is playing does not complement a big room in the way that it does. When you get to hear the soundboard quality, you get to hear all the little bits and pieces that Trey and Mike and Paige and even Fish are throwing in there.
I
Yeah,
I
bet
would
that
say
8
that
minutes would
these
sound totally
section
different,
tapes
RJ.
just are
Yeah.
not giving it up for us. But there are
No.
some front of board tapes out there, and there's plenty of sources actually for all of these shows, but you have to go a little further than re-listen to find them.
All right. I mean, I believe you. I think even like 8, 10, 97, I go back and I'm like, this is just, it's hard. It's hard to hear what I know is there, which is probably a lyric that I should put into one of Jonathan's songs if you need it. But you probably don't. All right. Did we do it?
I
We
think
did it.
so. Yeah.
We're going to be back next week.
Next week, we're going to break up momentarily.
Next week, we're going on hiatus.
Yeah.
We're done.
What?
It's over.
We all have other projects we want to pursue.
RJ,
creative
Jonathan, Megan,
directions.
and I met at the barn last weekend and decided to
Mhm.
go our own creative paths. No, that's 5 years from now. I'm going to give everyone out there a hint of
Ooh.
next week's episode. It comes the day after a live Fish release from the year 2000.
Wow. All right.
It's a bit more
Exciting.
than a hint, but all right. Why don't you just tell them then? They only need 3 minutes.
Why don't
to
you
look
just
it
tell
up,
me the
but-
name of the show that you picked?
They did 3 releases in 2000, so
It's gonna be great. It could be any. It could be the one after the last show. You never know. All right, guys, this is super fun.
is there a Fish show from 10/8/2000 that you know about?
Yeah.
You know about. You're gonna tell us about it. I can't wait. I can't wait. This is super fun, guys. I think there's so much more 99 that we should listen to. Thanks, Meg, for an awesome pick. So this is great.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See y'all next week.
Later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.